Dear Mrs. Rebecca Harms, I would venture to say a true friend of the Ukrainian people. A friend that not only appeared during the Maidan, as many other of your colleagues have appeared, and raised their fist and said, "We are with you," but remained with us during the toughest times that the Ukrainian people are going through. You truly are pushing Ukraine's Euro integration. You're defending with us Ukraine's territorial integrity, and you're convincing the international community step by step that it's in their best interest to join you and to join all those that understand what's really happening, and that the best way to ensure that there's stability in the world is to stop Russia's aggression at Ukraine's borders. 2 weeks ago, the Ukrainian World Congress Liaison Officer, Marina Yaroshevich, has sent to me a very interesting article that was online, that appeared, that reported that President Putin attended a televised awards ceremony for geography students on November 24th this year. And during that ceremony, he asked a 9-year-old boy, "Where does Russia's border end?" The boy had said, "The Bering Strait." And President Putin said, "Russia's border doesn't end anywhere." He then realized that even for him, that was an outrageous statement. And he added, that was a joke. And we all know that when Russia is destabilizing its neighbors, it's not a joke. We all know that when Russia is using Russian gas as a political weapon, it's not a joke. We all know that when Russia is subsidizing political parties in order to gain a political advantage, it's not a joke. We all know that when Russia tries to influence even the elections of the President of the United States of America, it's not a joke. We all know that when Russia invaded Georgia in 2008, that was not a joke either. And we all know that when Russia invaded Crimea, that was certainly not a joke. And we know that when Ukraine was attacked on the eastern end, and 10,000 young Ukrainians have died so far, and over 20,000 were injured, that there are over 2 million internally displaced persons in Ukraine, that is certainly not a joke. And President Putin explained in July 2014, 3 months after he invaded Crimea, the following, his geopolitical world to Russian ambassadors, saying, "I would like to make it clear to all, our country will continue to actively defend the rights of Russians, our compatriots abroad, using the entire range of available means from political and economic to operations under international humanitarian law and the right of self-defense." Mrs. Harms, you know that the only way to ensure that President Putin understands where the borders of Russia end is where the international community will stop his imperialist ambitions. And I think that the only way that the stopping of the Russian president's ambitions, imperialist ambitions, would come at a low cost for the international community would be to stop his imperialist plans at the borders between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. And I know that today many politicians that you confront tell you that for the sake of peace and stability in the world, we must forget Crimea. We must somehow forget Eastern Ukraine. In any event, it's a wrecked part of the world. Ukraine does not need it. Let's appease the Russian president. And I looked at the events of 1938, when somebody else was being appeased at the Munich conference, when the British Prime Minister and the French Premier thought that by remitting the Sudetenland, that part of Czechoslovakia where 3 million Germans lived, would appease the imperialist plans of Hitler. And what struck me was the speech that Chamberlain delivered upon his return to 10 Downing Street in London, where he read the following statement to his compatriots. We, the German Führer and Chancellor, and the British Prime Minister have had a further meeting today and are agreed in recognizing that the question of Anglo-German relations is of first importance for our two countries and for Europe. We regard the agreement signed last night and the Anglo-German naval agreement as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again. We are resolved that the method of consultation shall be the method adopted to deal with any other questions that may concern our two countries, and we are determined to continue our efforts to remove possible sources of difference and thus to contribute to assure the peace of Europe. And then he said the following words that would haunt him the rest of his life. My good friends, for the second time in our history, our British Prime Minister has returned from Germany bringing peace with honor. I believe it is peace for our time. Go home and get a nice, quiet sleep. And the next time that they looked at the situation was 1 year later, when Poland was invaded, and we know the end of that story. So we wanted to thank you today for being one of those that has understood and is convincing step by step, and helping us convince the international community that what is happening in Ukraine is certainly not an internal conflict. I think we've moved, and we have collectively managed to do that. We have moved it for many to understand this as a Ukrainian-Russian conflict. I think it is our collective duty today and challenge of the day to convince that what is happening is an international conflict with Ukraine at its epicenter. And as the Minister of Defense of Poland has said in Warsaw during the NATO summit, Ukraine, in defending its territorial integrity in the east, is actually stopping Russian aggression from moving further west. And they need us, and we need them. Thank you for delivering that message. I think with people as courageous as you, continuing to deliver such a message will ultimately help us convince the international community and stop Russian aggression and restore peace and stability in Europe and in the world. Thank you for your support.